Well, hello everyone. It is a rather wintry Friday afternoon, and I found a little bit of time outside of work to come to the forest and do a little bit of off-roading with the Africa Twin. I haven't taken this bike out in a little while, and I've been feeling very bad, so I've decided to fire her up, warm her up, and do a little bit of gentle off-roading. I also want to talk about how I ended up getting into off-roading, why I decided to swap my 160 horsepower road bike for a 60 horsepower at its best day off-road bike. Now, I am by no means a good off-road rider. I only started a year or two ago, and it's been a steep learning curve. It's a lot more difficult than it looks, or at least how professional people make it look. There's a lot of technique involved, and coming from about 5-6 years of road riding, it's completely changed the way I think about riding motorcycles. So come along with me and we will do a little bit of off-roading. Thanks. So I started riding bikes when I was about 21, and my first bike that I got was a Triumph Street Cup 900. It was restricted at the time, so it had about half the horsepower that it should have, but I loved that bike to bits. I rode it all round. I went around Europe on it. Yeah, adored it. So like most young men, I had a fling with high-power sports bikes. I sold my Triumph and I bought a Suzuki Katana, one of the new ones, and I enjoyed it for a month or two in the summer, and the rest of the time I found it very scary, a little too fast, and not particularly enjoyable unless you were doing fairly illegal speeds, which I obviously never was. So when I'd had the Katana for about a year, I decided that it wasn't really for me, the whole sport bike thing. I decided to sell it, and that's when I found the Africa Twin. At that time, I'd also started getting a lot more interested in off-road riding. I'd been watching a lot of Dakar documentaries, and I became rather infatuated with the idea of becoming an off-road master. That hasn't happened so much, obviously, but I have to say, off-roading on a bike is so enjoyable. Coming from around 5 years of road riding, as soon as you get off-road, there's something strangely magical about it. You're kind of on your own, you're out in nature, it's quiet apart from your Africa Twin with a very loud Arrow exhaust. And yeah, you can stop whenever you want. You don't have to worry about other people sort of crashing into you most of the time. There's something very peaceful about it, and I've found that it's extremely meditative for me to come out on a nice morning or an afternoon and go slowly potter around my local lanes and try not to fall off. I'm of the opinion that learning to off-road in the winter is the best thing you can do. Obviously, those sunbaked summer days where it's warm and you don't have to wear a big old jacket and, everything's dry and there's no mud around. It's really nice, but I think this time of the year is the best time to learn. There's a lot more challenging terrain, there's a lot more mud, and when you fall off, which you will, it's not as painful falling into a nice soft pile of mud rather than a sun-baked bit of ground. I truly think that riding off-road has made me a lot better of a motorcyclist overall. I think it teaches you how to cope with conditions that are a little bit sketchier, and so when it comes to time on the road and you hit a piece of sand or some mud, you're going to handle it a lot easier than if you've never off-roaded before. So I highly encourage anyone who's thinking about it to get out there and give it a go. So since the last video, I've had quite a lot of people ask me about this 944 that's in the barn. I've had this little car for quite a few years now. When I was 20, I got my first job and I stupidly financed a 2010 Audi TT. I spent about 3-4 years paying that off, and once it was done, I decided that I wanted a classic, so I sold that car and used the cash that was left over to buy the 944. So it's a 1988 Porsche 944 base model, the 2.5 litre naturally aspirated one. So since I've had this car, I've done quite a lot of work to it. I have completely refreshed the suspension in all four corners with Bilstein B6 shocks. I've changed the gearbox, I've changed the clutch. I've rebuilt some of the fuel lines because on these, quite a lot of the time the fuel lines rot out and begin leaking fuel onto the exhaust manifold, which, as you can probably guess, is probably not a good thing, and quite a lot of these go up in flames. So I've done that. I've fixed quite a lot of the wiring in it. There was a few electrical issues. I have installed a sports exhaust on it. Now, when I installed that sports exhaust, I went for the Dansk sports system. It's probably a little too loud for my tastes now, but when I was 23, 24, I was a little bit Asbo and I liked extremely loud cars. And this car was my daily driver for quite a few years. It was my only car. I drove it through the winter, I drove it to work, I did quite a lot of that stuff, and I think that is why, unfortunately, I am now struggling with some rust issues on the car. So quite a regular issue with these is that they rust from the inner sills underneath the doors. So unfortunately on my car, on both sides, these sills have gone quite crusty and they are around the jacking points. As you can see, a quite large piece has just fallen off here. So this is the issue I'm struggling with at the moment. I have had some quotes to fix this, and the quotes without paint are worth nearly as much as the car itself. So at the moment I'm slightly struggling to figure out what to do with it, because I love this car and there is no way I want to get rid of it, and for the money it's worth, I don't think there's much point getting rid of it. So I'm thinking, do I try and weld it myself? I think maybe my best solution at the moment, or not even a solution, I think maybe my best move at the moment would be to bite the bullet and cut those outer panels out so that I at least know how bad it is underneath, and I can at least send some pictures off to people to see what they think I should do with it. So any advice would be very welcome. I know this is not going to be an easy fix, but I've never done bodywork before, and bodywork scares me. I can do mechanicals, I understand how to do that, but yeah, bodywork is a bit terrifying to me. So any advice, any comments would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. So the little 944 is actually not the only car that needs a little bit of love at the moment. The last video I made, when I tucked the Alfa away for winter, I noticed that there was a bit of a leak, as you can maybe see from the top radiator hose. So I've ordered some parts and I'm going to replace a couple of hoses and see if that helps things. I also have a bit of an issue with the handbrake. I replaced the handbrake cable a couple of months ago because it was frayed and wasn't holding. But since I replaced the handbrake, I don't think it is adjusted properly because it's still not really holding the car particularly strongly. So I'm going to get underneath and have a little look at that as well.
Closing up shop, closing up my store. I know this city doesn't need me no more. And I know it ain't no mystery. I'm going on back to Bear Country. Back is broke, my head is numb. This new generation's making me feel old.
Okay, so after a bit of fiddling, we can roll easily and yeah, nice. Nice, okay, cool. I think that is sorted for now. Lovely. Okay, so moving on swiftly to the next job, we are going to hopefully replace this coolant hose here. I can already see there's a little bit of crust around it, some crystals, so it's definitely leaking. So let's see if we can get it off and replace it with the new hose.
Take my body, but I'll never take my soul. Take my body, but I'll never take my soul. I'll take my body, but I'll never take my soul. I will walk till I fall to my knees, until my heart stops, until it starts to bleed. My heart will always be in Bear Country. My heart will always...
Okay, I am very happy with that. We now have a working handbrake. There are no leaks in the engine bay from the new hoses, and yeah, everything is looking good. I actually have some very exciting plans for the Alfa in the new year. I'm going to be installing some pretty nice engine upgrades, and there's going to be a bit of a process that I'm going to share with you. So come January, we're going to be beginning that, and I cannot wait to show you what we're going to do. But it's a bit of a surprise, so you'll have to wait and see. But for now, it's time to tidy up in here, put the Alfa back in its place, until I can work on it in January with our very exciting plans. So yeah, successful day.
Take my body, but I'll never take my soul.
Hello everyone. I wanted to take a little bit of time this morning to go out to one of my favorite places and kind of reflect on what's happened in the last week. When I posted that video about a week ago, I did not anticipate quite how many people would see it and quite how many people would connect with what I was making. It's been kind of overwhelming in the best possible way, and I could not be more grateful for all of the people who found the video, enjoyed what I was making, and sent me lovely messages and left lovely comments. When you put yourself out on the internet, it can be a little bit scary. Famously, the internet is not a particularly kind place for a lot of people, and you always expect that when you put yourself out there and share your passions, that maybe there might be a few comments saying nasty things, and I've been so shocked about how positive everyone has been and how lovely of a community I can already feel is being built here. I've been very lucky that YouTube decided to promote my video, the first one, and I don't expect that to happen again. But all I hope is that we can slowly grow a really positive community here of people who are passionate about classic cars and bikes and filming and all of the types of things that were involved with this channel. Since posting that last video about a week ago, I've had so many exciting opportunities come out of nowhere that I never would have expected. So come 2026, I cannot wait to start sharing some of those opportunities and seeing where this channel goes. So finally, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for enjoying this content, and I really hope that we can keep building on this and see where it goes together. Thank you.